Hello and hello. Thank you so much for joining me today. How you guys doing? I'm excited because I'm reacting to Mr. Jorg Sprav, the Slingshot channel. I actually have been a huge fan of this channel for like 10 years, maybe longer. He's an absolute YouTube legend. I understand he might have some kind of political controversy. I don't really care. I just know his YouTube videos are really awesome, and he knows a lot about firearms and exactly what type of regulations there are and what you're allowed to and not allowed to do. It's kind of the basis for his channel, you know? He makes all these like really complicated weapons that are air-powered, slingshot-powered. Anyway, he's a great person, I think, to explain the German gun laws. So I'm very excited for this. Go check him out. You already know him. One of the biggest German YouTubers, probably. Well, that's a little bit vague, right? I guess he's one of the biggest. I don't know exactly where he ranks, but he's got 3 million subs. Anyway, let's see. German gun laws. Whenever I try to do a German accent, I actually channel Jorg. Welcome to the Slingshot channel.
Hello and welcome to the Slingshot channel. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about gun laws and weapon laws in Germany because there's a lot of misunderstandings.
All right, let's go.
Okay, let's start with the most interesting part, firearms. Now a lot of people in the US think that in Germany firearms are illegal and banned and can't be owned by citizens. No, that's not
People assume that about all of Europe, really, here in America.
nonsense. There's about 1 million legal firearm owners in Germany, and altogether they have about 6 million fully licensed firearms.
6 million firearms, and what? There's like 80 million people, so about one firearm for every 10 people, maybe?
Basically the same type that you can have in the US. Like, for example,
Damn.
my HK MP5. Nice one.
Okay.
Or this pump gun.
He wasn't kidding.
Also a nice toy.
You would call that a shotgun. Just calling it a pump gun makes it sound innocuous.
Handguns are also fully legal.
It makes it sound like an air-powered pump gun.
Like this Roger Super Red Hawk.
That looks like something out of a video game.
Nice. My trusted Para Ordnance 1245.
Okay, I'm honestly surprised he has a pistol. I would have thought that was not really possible in Germany,
Always
to be
good
honest.
have. One of my favorites is the original Walter PP. It's really a nice gun. It's really, I mean, production qualities are superb. Really nice. Even tougher stuff, like this Desert Eagle, isn't a problem at all. 50 caliber magazine.
I'm actually shocked. He has a freaking 50 cal.
That's a heavy gun.
A
Wow.
Deagle. In Germany.
Now, of course, you can't just go into a gun store and buy a weapon like this. You have to have a permit. I happen to have 5 of those because you can only get 8 guns per license.
But you can just get unlimited
So
licenses.
if you have more than 8 guns, like I currently have 34 on my licenses, you need more. I have 5 of them. One has still a few entries left. Now, how do you obtain a license like that?
This dude is way more strapped than most Americans.
Well, it's not so hard. If you want a gun, you can get it. You have to invest a little bit into learning, and you probably have to
Probably how it should be, to be honest.
pass an exam to prove that you know enough about guns. And you have to have a reason for applying for a firearm. Now, what are these reasons? Well, there's basically 3 of them. There's some more exceptions,
Couldn't you just say you're a hunter?
but the most common types is 3 of them. You have to be a member of...
Like I'm just saying the reason almost seems unnecessary because it's like you just say I'm a collector, unless you have to prove it somehow.
shooting club So it's a sport for you, and then you can pretty much get any gun that you want, because there are so many disciplines that you will find the right one for the gun that you want to shoot. And you have to practice for a
Wow.
while, like a year or so. And of course, you have to have
A year. Wow.
absolutely clean criminal register. Common type number two is
Yeah, I see. I like that aspect. And I mean, over here in America, maybe some people don't know if you're a felon, you're no longer allowed to own a firearm here in America. If you have a felony on your record, no firearms. A lot of people might not know that. I don't know.
hunter. If you learn about hunting, you have to go to a class and you have to pass an exam. But after you've passed it, you are okay to buy as much as the two handguns and as many long guns as you want. The third major type of license is the collector's license. If you are a collector, you have to prove that it's serious, and you also have to define the area of your collection. But then you're pretty much allowed to buy as many of those guns that fit into your collecting category as you want to and as you can afford. There are people that have hundreds of guns on their collector's license. All right, so you can own all these
Hundreds
guns.
of guns.
It's possible. It's not hard to do. But what
I mean, the funny thing about a gun is it's like once you let somebody have one gun, it's kind of like, is there a difference between someone having one gun and 100? Other than making sure they store them all safely. Not really, you know. You only need one gun to cause havoc, potentially.
what can you do with it? Well, first of all, you can of course take them to the place where the purpose is. So if you are a sportsman, you have to bring it to a certain.
I'm quite impressed. You know, I'm quite impressed that you can acquire firearms like this in Germany, and yet gun crime is so low. I'm guessing there are way fewer illegal guns. There are a ton of illegal guns circulating here in America. Tons. I believe it was a German man actually who had an illegal gun. He had made it, which is highly illegal even here in America. But apart from that, it seems like the impression I get is that illegal guns must be very difficult to come across, whereas here in America, unfortunately, when inside gangs and stuff, tons of illegal guns because there's no national firearms registry, you know. So guns eventually, you know, get put into the wrong hands. They file this serial number off, and then, well, you got an illegal gun floating around the black market.
Certified range, and then you can practice and you can participate in tournaments and all that. If you are a hunter, you can of course take it into your hunting area and then hunt with it. That's also fully okay. But you can certainly not just take it into the next bar or go through the mall with it. That's absolutely
Interesting.
impossible. For that, you would need a special license, an additional license, and that license is like a carry permit in the US. It is almost impossible to get for someone outside of the security industry.
Fascinating. Got you. That's a major difference, of course. In fact, in many states here in America, you are allowed to open carry a firearm. Anybody is. It's a lot more tightly restricted to conceal carry a firearm, which is a little bit ironic because it's like, if you conceal carry it, the cops aren't really going to know you're concealed carrying it. Unless they find it on you, you know, patting you down or whatever. But point is, open carrying a firearm is actually very legal in most of America.
Can you shoot these firearms onto your own ground? No. Even if it's outside of the city limits, there's no way. You have to go to a certified range. But don't forget, Germany is a very densely populated country. So,
And that's another major difference. I mean, you can just be out here in Indiana and you can hear people target shooting in their backyards. You know, there's a lot of farmers and stuff, and there's a lot of land. People have gun ranges out on their land and stuff, and that's fine.
it would be catastrophic if people would be allowed to shoot out in the woods.
Yeah. There are hunting accidents here in America. It happens for sure. But there is a huge amount of land, and people, the people, there are places you're allowed to hunt and places you're not, obviously.
If you are a licensed firearms owner, you must store the guns safely when you're not personally handling them.
I like that. I think that should be a law here in America, because some of the most tragic incidences here in America are when kids get a hold of guns from absolutely, totally irresponsible gun owners that have their guns hidden in the couch. That actually happened recently, locally. Someone had their gun hidden in the couch, and their kid got a hold of it.
And therefore you need
That's outrageous.
to have a certified safe, something like this here. I actually have several of those. And store them safely as long as you're not using them. Okay.
And I think, as far as gun laws here in America, it's hard because of the Second Amendment. Congress shall make no law inhibiting your ability to bear arms. It's hard to make gun laws restricting guns, but as far as that, I think requiring them to be in a gun safe, that doesn't infringe on that amendment. So I really like that.
Okay, so you have to keep the firearms under lock and key in case you are not home or you're not using them or not cleaning them or whatever. But that makes perfect sense, because otherwise kids can find them, burglars can find them and steal them and do all kinds of nasty
guns get stolen out of cars all the time.
things with it. So I think
And then they file the number off and they're an illegal gun.
it makes total sense to force people to store these guns safely when they're not in use.
I like that.
Then also there is this type of guns, firearms that are unregulated. This means you can...
Wasn't there some kind of, and I don't mean to make light of this situation, but I think a guy used a musket type of rifle, and this makes sense now. In Germany, there was an incident, right? And he's saying you don't even need a license, so that would be why.
Buy them as long as you're 18 or older. And this includes models designed before 1870. For example, this Smith carbine, which is 50 caliber. It's of course percussion lock, and it is even a breech loader, so you can breech load this with the cartridge.
Neat.
And then it's a fine gun. And of course, you can also own...
Honestly, I think that's a pretty cool gun.
You shoot it at the gun range, but you can own it without any kind of permit.
Like shooting those types of guns is actually more fun and more sporty in a lot of ways.
Next thing on our list is air guns, like this very cool Weihrauch HW100 with a very nice telescopic sight and a silencer. These guns are unregulated.
Silencers are highly regulated here in America. Now, of course, this is an air gun, so it's different.
As long as they're under 7.5 joules, which may be around 5 foot-pounds of energy. That's enough for some blinking fun. But of course, forget it it won't cause any real damage. That's why they limited it to 7.5 joules. Now, of course, you can also get them in the unlimited version. This means they have sometimes over 50 joules, like 35 foot-pounds of energy or so on. But then you need the same permit that you need for a firearm. This means you have to go through the year of practice and you have to store them safely. With the limited ones, no more than 7.5 joules, none of these rules apply. Same goes for pistols, like this very cool CO2 powered...
Okay, it's CO2 power. I guess it's like an airsoft gun. Before I fully comprehended that, seeing him point it at his face was kind of heart-stopping. Like, oh my god. But it's not a real gun. So.
Gun that fires lots of pellets, and it does so with a very good accuracy, but of course limited to 7.5 joules. And I don't think that this one is even available in a stronger version, since, of course, it's limited. Then we have blank firing guns, like this Walter Big Bore. It's without a doubt a copy of the 1911 design, and somehow it works like it, not quite, but somehow. This fires 9mm blanks or tear gas. It works like a normal firearm, really same kind of deal. Of course, it's much more cheaply made and it's also not as expensive. The tear gas in it is effective, but of course, you have to take care to not shoot against the wind, otherwise you're going to suffer. Now, for these, you don't need...
That's very interesting. I always think about the implications of something like that. Like it's shooting tear gas. Obviously, if you whip that out, especially I mean here in America, where seeing a gun like that would not be uncommon, people would just assume it's real, and then you very well might just get shot by someone else. But it turns out you had tear gas, which is not lethal. So I don't know. I'd rather just have a can. It's cool though.
To buy those. If you're 18 or older, you can just go into a gun store and buy them, or order them on Amazon. Even.
There's been a couple tragic accidents here in America as well, where people have airsoft guns and cops think they're real guns. Yeah, and they get shot.
I think. But what you cannot do is you cannot take them out and carry them in public without a permit. That permit is a special permit that you can very easily obtain. It's like if you don't have a criminal record, they're going to issue it to you just like that. You just have to pay a little bit of money and then it's yours. I think the main thing is that they want to know who is carrying such things with them or not. Defending yourself with a thing like this is kind of dangerous because you might run into a criminal that has a real gun and then it gets nasty because he will believe that you have a real gun too. And the consequences are potentially disastrous. Mm-hmm. And then we have this little device.
Yeah, it's almost like as a scare tactic, it might work, but that's very risky.
Which is what's its name? The JPX Jet Protector. It's a cool little device. Actually, it fires 2 shots, and these 2 shots are tear gas, of course. So you have this barrel set that really has blanks in here, but the blanks are pushing a piston, and the piston is pushing out the gas. Therefore, they're really silent. You don't hear much, but you can hit on distances like 10 meters easily, so it's not a problem. And these, they look like a gun, and they actually shoot the tear gas hard. But they are legal, and you can carry them without any kind of permit. This is probably one of the most effective things you can carry in your handbag if you are afraid of being attacked.
Wow.
Okay, let's move on to bladed weapons.
Oh, this is interesting because there's actually a huge assortment of laws about knives here in America, state to state. Any state you be in, there's differences.
Like this beautiful Cold Steel Roger 2, one of my favorites. Knives in general, as long as they're not fighting knives or combat knives, like any type of kitchen knife and so on, is basically unregulated. So even a minor can buy it and use it, and of course there's no limitation on this.
And it's kind of like similar here in America where you have these certain kind of knives. Most states, any knife that can be, retracted with a button or like a butterfly knife, it's actually totally illegal. Or even brass knuckles are illegal in almost every state, which is kind of funny considering you can buy a gun at the candy store, but carrying, a retractable knife, totally illegal.
As soon as it is meant for fighting or meant for combat, then this changes. So this would be a fighting knife. Then you have to be 18 or older to buy it and own it. And you can pretty much own any kind of knife. There are only a few exceptions of knives that are illegal. And those will be butterfly knives for whatever reason. You also can't have an automatic knife if it doesn't fulfill certain criteria that makes it legal. We'll come to that later. So all these knives you can legally own. This beautiful combat smatchet, really razor sharp and heavy, beautiful. Or this very nice Gerber knife that I really appreciate because it's well made and it's really a nice knife. It has this lever that makes it easier to open it. Of course it locks in place. Very cool knife. And as I said, even automatic knives are legal in case they fulfill certain criteria. First of all, they have to open from the side. So out the front, automatic knives are illegal in
I think this is actually very similar to here in America.
Germany. If they open to the side, they still have to be sharp only on one side, so can't be sharp on both sides. That would make them illegal, even if the blade is short. All right, all these knives you can own, but can you take them with you if you go to the bar or whatever? Well, no, of course not. Not all of them. Some of them you can, it's just not a problem. So first of all, a folder, if it locks
I like how he says, of course not, where it's like, in here in America, it's like, of course not. Really? Really? That's an option? It sounds kind of obvious when he says it. You know, I would really rather people don't have large knives on them at the bar.
automatically when opened, like this one, and if it can be opened with one hand, and this is true for this one as well, then you cannot carry it legally into public. The same goes for fixed knives if the blade length exceeds 12 centimeters, which is about 5 inches. So a blade shorter than this is legal to carry. This one you have to keep at home. So this would be a good example for a knife. It's a beautiful Böker, really solid knife. Yeah, I love the thickness of the steel. And the blade length is just short enough to make it legal to carry it. A folder is legal to carry as long as it does not open with one hand and locks in place automatically. So one hand opening is okay as long as it doesn't lock, and a lock is okay as long as it doesn't open one-handedly. So if you take this cold steel Raja and remove this little notch here, simply by loosening this one screw, then you have to open it with both hands, and then it is legal to carry. Well, big deal, because if you really want to do it, you can shake these open.
That kind of exemplifies, it is a little bit funny, some of these laws. It's like, is there even a purpose to banning these different little things about knives when you can just do that? Like, if someone can just bring one of the knives and do that and do whatever they want with it, you know, then what have we accomplished? You know, and I'm not saying all knives should be illegal to carry around. I'm just saying it's interesting how easy the loopholes are to overcome
So even if you have a tool
or to find.
like this with this wonderful SOG automatic switch plier set,
That's cool.
it has a blade, and this blade locks in place. It's actually a very sharp hollow ground blade. It locks in place, so but it doesn't open one-handedly. So this is legal to carry. God, I love playing with that thing.
Muscle
Now
powered.
let's talk about muscle-powered weapons, like this beautiful Liberty One hunting bow, super compact and really strong. This is one of the best bows I've ever shot. So of course it's a hunting bow, so it probably won't win the Olympics ever, but it is deadly accurate and very powerful. And unregulated. So this kid is allowed to buy and own this.
Oh, wow.
And you can shoot it in your garden. It is a lot of fun, and it is absolutely non-restricted. Okay, crossbows.
Interesting.
Like even this one with a magazine that I outfitted it with this 7-shot magazine. These are fully legal, and you can carry them in public. There is no limit on them. The only thing is that you have to be 18 or older. So other than a bow, which is non-regulated, this is limited to adults. So as a minor, you cannot
That thing's wild.
own one. Okay, last not least, slingshots. What else? Slingshot like this, Rambo, even with this very powerful
I think that's his slingshot. I think he made it.
full butterfly
Like that mold or whatever.
bands on them that can cause a lot of damage, but it's totally unregulated. This means minors can own it, you can carry it in public, you can shoot it in your garden. If the landowner permits it, you can even go and shoot in the woods if you want to. Of course, as long as you hurt anyone, then you won't get into any issues. Now there is one exception, and this is for arm-braced slingshots. Those are the types that
Slingshots gotta be the funniest. They're so cool. I always thought they were so cool as a kid, but it's like, what do people do with a slingshot other than like pranks? You know, it's like you just always think of a kid pulling some kind of prank, shooting pebbles at someone's car or something.
Really, have a brace for your forearm so that the wrist is not under
And yet they can cause a lot of damage, especially George Sprague's slingshots, if you've seen some of the stuff he makes.
stress when you shoot. And those are totally illegal in Germany. You cannot own them, not even if you have a gun license. They're banned. The reason for this is because in the 70s we had a lot of demonstrations in Germany, and the demonstrants had these cheap arm-braced Chinese slingshots, and they shot with the small steel balls against the police, and they actually managed to crack a few visor shields. And
Interesting.
the big thing is that the press made fun out of them because the demonstrants would go and the policemen would all hop away out of the line of fire, heavily armed with all their heavy shields and so on. So they called this the police dance. And I guess that that kind of fun that press made about the police caused the politician to ban those arm braces. Now, that's not a problem.
That's an interesting bit of history.
Because
I've never even seen those.
well-designed slingshot with a low enough fork like this one doesn't really cause a lot of strain on the wrist, even if it's very heavy bands. So
Oh, wait, okay, now I know what he means. Where it's got, yeah, they sell those here. Interesting. Where it rests against your forearm and gives you a little bit of leverage.
it's not a problem. So the brace would only make it bulky
Interesting.
and I think ugly. So I don't really care much about that law. And this makes the slingshot one of the most effective unregulated weapons because, my record shot with the slingshot is like 135 joules. That's more than 100 foot-pounds of energy. And if you keep in mind that it's completely unregulated, that's a little bit of freedom left in otherwise strictly regulated Germany. There are several things in Germany that are completely banned that you cannot own. For example, shuriken, like throwing stars, ninja stars.
Oh.
Those are illegal, I think, solely because Bruce Lee made them look so dangerous in his films in the 70s. I don't think that there is a single
I think they're probably more dangerous to the person trying to throw them than to anybody else.
criminal incident on record where someone used a shuriken, because these things are really not that dangerous. They're toys, basically. But they banned them because they look so dangerous. Well done, Bruce Lee. If you ask me what I personally think about gun laws in Germany, I think with some exceptions, it's actually a fair law. If you keep in mind that you can get pretty much anything you want as long as you learn the trade and as long as you
Yeah, wow, that's actually pretty remarkable.
have a clean register, then I think that's a fair way to deal with things.
I can't believe the amount of guns he owns.
Now, there's a few stupid exceptions, but, well, come on.
I mean, I don't know anybody with more guns. I don't think. Like here in America, Think about that. And he's in Germany. So,
These are politicians. Of course, lots of things that they decide upon is nonsense. So, I hope you like this because that's it for today.
bye-bye. Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Oh, man, that was so interesting. I can't freaking believe that. I love how Jorg casually says, like, I have 34 guns on my license. That was eye-opening. Honestly, I think America could learn a lot as far as gun regulations that still allow, for enthusiasts and responsible gun owners to own guns, like he does, but otherwise keep them out of the hands of bad actors. Now, of course, it's a little bit more complicated than that here in America because we do have that Second Amendment, which does make it difficult for them to pass laws like that. And there's so many guns floating around in circulation here in America, more than one for every person, and so many illegal guns that what a mess that is to untangle at this point. I mean, not that I think they should try to pass some kind of common sense laws, especially like how you need to store the guns and stuff. But oh boy, it's a mess. Anyway, that was really fascinating. Go check out his channel, the Slingshot channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for watching.